Hello everyone, let's talk codependent relationship today. What is a codependent relationship? Why does it happen? And how can we break free? When one person feels that they only exist and feel fully alive when in love with and loved by another person, dependency develops. When the other person sees validation of their importance and self-worth and finds purpose in serving their partner, codependency emerges. These two concepts are two sides of the same coin. They're both toxic and destructive, yet can also feel like heaven, at least for a while. So traditionally, the term codependent relationship was used to describe couples where one partner was dependent on substances, unstable and or abusive towards the other partner, who for some reason could not leave the relationship and considered it their duty to take care of the dependent partner. And we have since noticed that the same dynamics can apply to relationships where there is no clear substance dependency, but one partner still exhibits unstable, controlling, or aggressive behavior towards the other, and the other partner still cannot leave the relationship and feels obligation to take care of their partner. Now, in both cases, there is usually a prominent love story at the beginning of the relationship, and people continue to have strong feelings for each other even when things get rough. The two partners in a codependent relationship are known as the dependent and the codependent. They have different family histories and different traumas, and it is through these personal histories that we can understand why codependent relationship develops. If you feel adventurous enough, let's take a look at the psychological portraits of both. The so-called dependent partner has usually experienced parental neglect or some forms of abuse. They have suffered a lack of normal parental attention, love, and warmth. They also had their right to develop their personality taken away from them. This may be because their parents were absent and unable to provide decent care. It may also be because they were unsupportive or even punitive towards child's healthy desire to explore, initiate, and separate. This results in an unstable sense of self, a lack of capacity to connect with the world, and an internal longing for care and attention that remains unfulfilled. It also explains the massive built-up anger that tears up the dependent person's heart apart. Anger that originally was directed at parents who did not fulfill their parental duties good enough. This anger will be transferred later to the partner, along with the expectation that the partner must now do what the parents failed to do, provide unconditional love and care. Since any dependency is essentially linked to a lack of connection with the world and a fragile sense of self, there is always a feeling of emptiness and numbness that people try to overcome by seeking strong sensations and emotions. That is why reckless behavior, gambling, sex addictions, and drugs are often used as self-medication, as a way of feeling something, of feeling alive. And this is also why when love finds its way into a dependent person's heart, it is usually perceived as a cure, as an ultimate way to escape the darkness. The dependent person is so attached to their partner because this relationship feels existential. It feels like life itself. And this is why the dependent person has to control their partner to ensure that they will not abandon them. Naturally, they will fall in love with someone who's the best caregiver ever and the most organized person to make up for the lack of love and structure in their childhood. And who could be a better caregiver than someone who as a child had to take care of their own parents, gaining a lifetime of experience. The so-called codependent person has received parental attention, but has been made responsible for their parents' happiness and well-being from a very early age, in exchange for this parental care. Codependent people have usually never really felt unconditional parental love and acceptance. They have been led to believe that love must be earned by being a good boy or girl, behaving well and doing right by their parents who gave them life and care. The message received, whether direct or indirect, was, "You owe me your life, and your job in this life is to do right by me, the parent. Love me, take care of me, and make me happy. I, the parent, invested in you, so you must do well in life and not disappoint me." So without realizing it, such a person becomes an eternal caregiver, paying off a non-existent debt from a very young age. It obviously takes good organizational skills and structure to survive with such immature parents and endure such rigidity in parental approach. So the codependent becomes good at controlling things and perceives taking care and monitoring everyone and everything as their normal duty. However, deep down, they will always sense that they were never truly loved or cared for, simply for who they are. So when love finds its way to this person's heart, it is obviously the projection of this absolute, unconditional, everlasting love, also known as dependency. And so the dance begins. We often ask ourselves the complicated question, why do we fall for people who are bad for us? However, if we take it a step farther, we should ask ourselves, what part of ourselves is mirrored by the person we choose? We all possess feminine and masculine aspects within our psyche. Carl Jung referred to these as anima and animus. In gender terms, when a woman falls in love with a man, he becomes the embodiment of her animus, her masculine side. Similarly, when a man falls in love with a woman, she becomes a reflection of his anima, his feminine side. Therefore, the person we fall in love with and are attracted to is a reflection of something that already exists within us and is part of our soul and character. And according to the law of attraction, we will find exactly that in the outside world, for better and for worse. Codependent relationships are an archetypal story that people have been reliving since the beginning of time. The story of love, longing, and mutual destruction. In codependent relationships, people refer to an extreme closeness. However, in truth, a codependent relationship is characterized by enmeshment or symbiosis, where two people merge to the extent that it is unclear where one person ends and the other begins. The personal boundaries of both partners are almost non-existent, which can lead to severe violations of personal rights and even abuse. True intimacy requires two individuals who are separate yet know, understand, and respect one another. In real closeness, personal boundaries are sacred. Each partner has their own life, grows and develops, pursues their dreams with the support of their partner. In symbiosis, however, separateness is perceived as a danger, and any form of individuality is forbidden and considered a threat to the relationship. There can only be us, not you and me. Everything has to be ours, not mine or yours. We are one entity, one molecule, one everything. We cannot live without each other, nor can we enjoy or be interested in things without one another. And this is why in codependent relationships, both parties need to remain in control of each other to ensure that nothing threatens the mergence. Eventually, one or both partners will have to give up their dreams, goals, and interests to sustain the symbiosis. So, is there a way to preserve a codependent relationship and the love that originally built it, while also avoiding destruction? There is. In order to transform the dysfunctioning blueprint of a codependent relationship, both partners must separate from the roles they played in their family of origin. This means the dependent must stop feeling like a victim who is owed love and care by the world, and the codependent must stop thinking they must take care of everyone to deserve love. When both partners are unconsciously trying to heal their childhood wounds of rejection and abandonment through relationship, it can only create a huge mess. No external person can love an adult's inner child. Only the adult themselves can do that. And for this, there must be a truly grown-up person. So both the dependent and the codependent partner have individual work to do. They must be able to face their past and start healing consciously through therapeutic work rather than using each other as an anesthetic. And finally, grow up. A dependent person will subconsciously expect their partner to provide what they did not receive as a child: unconditional love, care, support, and acceptance. However, no adult is entitled to anything unconditional. It is unfair to expect another person to constantly take care of you, and behaving like an angry 2-year-old and expecting relationships to work is simply unrealistic. Looking for relief through various dependencies and acting out is dangerous and destructive. Partners should care for each other equally, behave coherently, and solve problems through open and clear communication. No person can fill the void left in your soul by your parents. Your partner may burn themselves out trying and become mentally or physically unwell, but they will still fail at this impossible task. Only you can do that. Only you can fill that void. To start, the dependent person must admit the problem and be willing to do the necessary personal development work. A lack of congruent sense of self that results in feelings of disconnectedness and emptiness can be addressed by heightening your awareness of the present moment, forming better connections with your feelings and emotions, and learning to tend to your needs in a healthy way. Resting when tired, eating when hungry, pursuing your interests, and learning to distinguish your true preferences in life. In short, you need to listen to yourself more and tend to your needs better. These are the needs that you learn to suppress and ignore as a child, since there was no one to care for you. But today, there is this whole person who can care for you and your needs, and that person is you, the grown-up you. A codependent partner must realize that they do not have to sacrifice themselves to deserve love and approval. Love should not be earned. It is an alchemical mystery and not a school project where you have to get an A. As a child, you were taught to tend to your parents' needs in order to earn their love. Consequently, you assumed that tending to your partner's needs was your absolute responsibility in order to preserve the relationship. This is all part of a pathological script that you have internalized. You owe no one anything, and you never have. You were born free, but this freedom was corrupted and taken away from you. This is why you may feel repressed anger, which can lead to anxiety, depression, OCD, and many other issues. Break free. Break free from everyone. Freedom is a basic human right from birth. Reclaim it. Break free from the chains of duty and start living your life. Pursue your own goals and dreams. No one is supposed to serve another. That is called slavery. Release all your obligations to care for your partner. You don't owe them anything. The challenge will be allowing yourself this freedom without considering it selfish. Taking care of yourself and making yourself a priority is not selfish. It is self-care. The challenge will also be learning to be autonomous, even within a relationship. Having been raised by a merging parent who sought to make you their parent and partner, you were programmed to be attuned to their needs. So later in life, you became attuned to your partner's or friend's needs and are constantly in sync with someone. You need to become in sync with yourself, your wishes, desires, interests, and not with your parents or partners and their needs. And both partners in a codependent relationship will need to learn to relinquish control. Control is the opposite of love. Where control dwells, love dies. People in codependent relationship need each other so desperately that they will do whatever it takes to hold on to each other, even if it destroys them both. Establishing healthy personal boundaries, doing individual work of self-discovery, and respecting each other's personalities and freedoms are the necessary steps towards healing and breaking free from the heavy chains of codependency. That is all for today, guys. Hope you found it helpful. Thank you for watching, and as usual, remember to be kind to yourself.